Hi everyone, this is Tony Ericetti and welcome to this tutorial on assessing English language proficiency. You're going to have several challenges in this project. One is providing consistent ratings of English language proficiency to the Kanazawa students and residents that you're going to work with. And also, and this is really important, is giving them feedback and correcting their English language difficulties. When rating English language proficiency, you're not going to have to worry about providing a numerical rating, but will instead fill in a rating that's more qualitative, including poor, low, fair, high, and excellent. And I'll spend some time in explaining how this is actually going to work. For a poor rating, it's possible that a few good things could happen because it's rare that students don't do anything right, although it's possible. You'll notice, though, that as the ratings improve, the lower English language proficiency skills decrease as the higher skills increase. For a fair rating, you'll notice that students exhibit lower quality and higher quality skills about equally. For a high rating, the student would exhibit many higher quality language skills, and the lower quality language skills are infrequent. And with an excellent rating, the student would speak English pretty much as a native speaker, and their lower quality language skills are rare or absent. Just like it would be with a native English speaker, their English wouldn't be perfect, but they would be probably pretty understandable. So your challenge would be to provide the learner proficiency in 5 areas: pronunciation, vocabulary usage, grammar, listener effort, that is your effort to understand the learner, and the learner comprehension of you, the SP. And you're going to make a rating of anywhere from poor, low, fair, high to excellent. Pronunciation and grammar are going to be 2 dimensions that you're pretty much going to recognize as problematic or not. So here are a couple issues with pronunciation. One is the L and R sounds that Japanese speakers may have difficulty pronouncing. Another pronunciation issue is the V sound. They may have trouble pronouncing words like video or very, and they may substitute it with a B sound. Another pronunciation issue to pay attention to is the TH sound, which is often replaced with the S or a Z sound. So they might say sink instead of think, or zis instead of this. Final consonant sounds may be problematic for some Japanese speakers. For example, English words with final consonants like P, T, or K may be challenging for them who may add a vowel sound at the end or drop the final consonant altogether. There's the issue of consonant clusters, where it's difficult to pronounce English words with multiple consonants at the beginning or at the end of words such as street, splash, or strength. Next, let's look at the vocabulary issues. So mostly vocabulary is going to be assessed when they're asking questions or giving information. So you want to particularly pay attention to those 2 things. You may notice that they have a limited word choice, for example, frequently using simple common words repeatedly or struggling to express themselves using a diverse range of vocabulary. They may have difficulty expressing ideas if they have a limited range of words. They may struggle to articulate their thoughts effectively or have trouble finding the right words to convey specific meanings or concepts, leading to repetitive or vague expressions. The learners may have an over-reliance on general terms, resorting to phrases like thing, stuff, or you know, when they're unable to provide specific details. In general, they may have difficulty understanding you with a shallow pool of words to draw from, and this will also affect their listener effort rating, which we'll get to later. You'll want to pay attention to how they pronounce and use medical terms. And finally, under vocabulary, you want to pay attention to whether or not they have reduced confidence in their language usage. Pay attention, for example, to closed body language, for example, closing their arms, avoiding eye contact, fidgeting, or appearing physically tense. And this is going to be assessed in the nonverbal communication dimension of the interpersonal and communication skills assessment. They also may apologize excessively for even minor inconsequential things or speak too softly. So there's a lot of physical and nonverbal things to pay attention to that may indicate they're having problems struggling with vocabulary. The next dimension to pay attention to is grammar. And like pronunciation, you may not have any difficulty picking up when there is a problem. So one thing to look for are verb tense errors. For example, mixing up past, present, or future within the same sentence. Another issue with grammar are subject-verb agreement errors, where the subject of the sentence has to agree in number with the verb. You also want to pay attention to their use of double negatives, which work in some languages, but not in English. And finally, under grammar, pay attention to whether or not they're speaking in complete sentences or sentence fragments. Taking into account what you've just assessed, that is the learner's pronunciation, vocabulary, and grammar, how much effort did it take or would it take for you to understand the learner? And finally, make a judgment how much effort it took for the learner to actually understand you. Assessing English language proficiency is going to present you with some challenges. One I already mentioned, which is providing accurate and consistent ratings from student to student. But the other issue is more complex, which is about you improving your ability to understand the learners based on you gaining experience talking with the different students. Because you may begin to understand the students as a group better over the course of time, that does not always mean that the students are actually getting better. So your learning experience with them is a source of bias in their favor. Therefore, you'll have to try to make an expert judgment based on the student's ability to speak English proficiently. It's really important to keep in mind that you have to score learners on their merits and not on the circumstances of the exam or the encounters. For example, it's unfair to give students extra credit because they appear to be tired or nervous or they appear to be trying very hard but not doing well. And indeed, all students must perform under the same conditions, and your job is to judge whether or not they perform well or poorly in a stressful exam situation that closely mirrors what they will have to do in real life with actual patients if they were actually speaking in English with them. You'll have a few challenges during feedback. One thing to keep in mind is that feedback is different from debriefing, where debriefing is more of a self-reflective process, but feedback is really very specific information that you want to convey to them. So during your encounters with them, please try to mentally note any language errors and correct and coach as necessary. And also during the encounters, if you're not understanding what they're saying, you could always ask them to repeat what they're saying, and you might want to make a note of that and perhaps deal with that during your feedback session. Also, your rating should be consistent with your feedback. If you are giving a poor or low rating in a particular area, that's probably the area that you should be focusing your feedback on. Finally, I really want to emphasize how much they value your feedback. They will be here with us this week to practice their English, and you are very important in this process. Your next step is to be sure that you review the full guide for scoring English proficiency. Then you'll be viewing the interpersonal and communication skills assessment video.
How to say thank you in Japanese. ありがとう。Thank you.